Let's talk about Jose Rodriguez. He was apparently the man in charge of the CIA program that used torture. And he calls it, of course, enhanced interrogation techniques, but it is most definitely torture. He went on 60 Minutes to talk about his new book, Hard Measures. Seemed to be bragging throughout. They got him in his Camaro, driving down the street, talking about how he had to tell the guys, oh, there's a new sheriff in town, yeah! What's amazing is he just admits all of these war crimes on national TV because he realizes in the US now, there's no consequences. You can commit war crimes all day long. So let's begin with the front part of the reporting here with Lesley Stahl asking the questions.
We had an enemy come into our homeland and kill 3,000 people. I mean, that was a huge deal. People jumping from the towers to their death, the people running away from the cloud of dust, terrified out of their mind. This was a threat, and we had to throw everything at it.
Yeah, to which I would say, no shit, Sherlock, it was a threat? Of course, of course. By the way, it was a threat before 9/11, which unfortunately the Bush administration didn't do too much about. But actually, you can't hold Jose Rodriguez responsible for that at all, because it turns out he wasn't in counterterrorism. After 9/11, he volunteered to go into the counterterrorism department, and somehow he winds up in charge. Now, why does he wind up in charge when he's got no experience? Because he's the guy who can't wait to do the torture. He says, oh my God, we were attacked. I mean, 3,000 people were killed. Now, that's horrible, right? But you know what? We were attacked on World War II, Pearl Harbor, and overall, 13 million people were killed by the Nazis. I mean, we're not even talking about the soldiers, we're talking about civilians. But we didn't torture the Nazis, because we were better than that. But apparently Jose Rodriguez and all of his buddies there in the government are not better than that. The minute they were attacked, they thought, well, I'm gonna go to torture because I don't know how to do it any other way. I'm not smart enough to figure it out. By the way, when they were interrogating Abu Zubaydah, one of the top people that we captured, well, the FBI first got to him and they got a lot of information from him before this idiot, Jose Rodriguez, comes in and goes, oh, I gotta roll up the sleeves, yeah, ha, ha, starts torturing him and got nothing from him. In fact, he ruined the program that the FBI was doing where we were getting good information from Abu Zubaydah. But this guy wasn't picked despite the fact that he's stupid. He was picked because he's stupid and would push for torture, which Dick Cheney wanted, obviously. So he continues.
If there was going to be another attack against the US, we would have blood in our hands because we would not have been able to extract that information from him. So we started to talk about an alternative set of interrogation procedures. We needed to get everybody in government to put their big boy pants on and provide the authorities that we needed.
Oh, because if you do torture, you're a big boy. And you don't get any of the information you need, you're a real big boy, you got your big boy pants on, right? But if you're like the FBI and actually extracting information from one of the most important guys that we caught, well, you don't have your big boy pants on. Ha ha, what a wimp you are. You don't even torture anybody. God, look at the mentality here. You know, this peels back the curtain because you think like CIA, you know, you've seen the movies that, oh my God, they're hanging off of buildings, and you think of Tom Cruise and Mission Impossible and all this stuff. What do you think? Got a guy comes in, used to work in a different division, and he's like, oh, let's put the big boy pants on, and let's go get the guys. You idiot, do you have any idea whether that's effective or not? By the way, you know where they got the different methods that they used? Rodriguez admits that they got it from our enemies during the Cold War, which we already knew, and he's admitted it. It was the Chinese torture documents. This is how you torture people. We had captured that before from the Chinese, and we had used it to make sure our guys didn't get tortured. Rodriguez pulls those guys in and says, okay, now reverse it and let me do the same kind of torture that the Chinese communists used to do. Not now, back in the bad old days. This guy is a national embarrassment. Now look at some of the tactics that they used.
Was he naked?
In many cases, nudity was used extensively, and it worked well.
Why is nudity effective?
It is effective because a lot of people feel very vulnerable when they're nude, and also because of the culture, nudity is not something that is common.
See, this is another one of those indications that the guy's not that bright. He's like, you know, in their culture, they're not nude often. You know, in our culture, we're also not nude often. moron, but he's like, oh, he doesn't know anything about Muslims. So he's like, oh, Muslims, they don't like nudity, they don't like sex. Oh, we'll strip them naked. Is it based on science? Is it based on any kind of intelligence gathering techniques we've used before? No. He's like, I put the big boy pants on, and then I take his big boy pants off. God, you watch this guy and you peel back the curtain and you go, the guys running this program were so fundamentally unintelligent and unqualified. Okay, now here's other tactics they use.
Was it waterboarding that broke the dam with Abu Zubaydah?
I think he was more taken aback by the insult slap.
Oh, what's the insult slap?
It's just slapping somebody with an open hand so that you don't hurt him.
By hurt, you mean you don't break his jaw.
We don't break his jaw, and the objective is not to inflict pain. That's not the objective. The objective is to let him know that there's a new sheriff in town, and that he better pay attention.
This guy watched Tombstone, and then he went and used it as if it was really, like, that's an open-handed slap. Boy, you're gonna sit there and bleed all day? Ha ha, there's a new sheriff in town. Did it work? No, it didn't work at all. You didn't get any information. They waterboarded Khalid Sheikh Mohammed 183 times. They didn't let him sleep for 180 straight hours. 7.5 days of no sleep. A human being almost cannot stand that. I mean, in fact, that's the kind of torture that they used to do back in apartheid South Africa. And the KGB. And there's reports from both sets of people that got that kind of enhanced interrogation from the apartheid government and KGB saying it was the worst torture we got. It was worse than not eating, not sleeping, getting beat, etc. was a sleep deprivation. Now, so they do all that and it doesn't work anyway. And this clown, he doesn't know what he's doing. He's like, I don't know, let's try slapping them. What a loser. Now, Lesley Stahl says to him, hey, wait a minute. Your own inspector general at the CIA did a report on this and concluded that none of these tactics work. So what's your reaction to that? Here's his reaction.
Here's something that was told to me. Abu Zubaydah's story sent the CIA around the globe. Not a single plot was foiled. We spent millions chasing phantoms.
Bull. He gave us a roadmap that allowed us to capture a bunch of Al-Qaeda serial leaders.
Oh, that's awesome. First of all, I love his reaction. What? No way, man. I was slapping him, man. I told him there was a new sheriff in town. Reports. Reports. But wait a minute. Where's your facts? He's like, well, it didn't lead to the capture of those leaders. It led to a roadmap that led to the possible capture of some of those Al-Qaeda guys. Oh, you got to come better than that. Come on, get out of here with the roadmap. You know what happened with Khalid Sheikh Mohammed? He resisted. Now, after the torture was over, months after that, he finally gave information when they went back to proven interrogation tactics. You know what they used to do with the Nazis to break them? They would eat dinner with them, and they'd play ping pong with them. Now, that sounds like that's not something Jose Rodriguez would do because he's got to show how tough he is and what kind of pants he's got on, right? But then afterwards, the Nazis would feel like, oh, these are my friends, and they'd give the information we needed, which would help us defeat Nazi Germany. See, that's why it's proven, because it gets you results that you need. It's not just about revenge. It's not just about trying to prove how tough you are against an unarmed detainee, okay? And so that's exactly what we did later with Khalid Sheikh Mohammed. Then we got the information. This guy is a proven loser, bragging about how he did this. Now he continues.
So sleep deprivation, dietary manipulation, I mean, this is Orwellian stuff. The United States doesn't do that.
Well, we do.
There he is on national TV saying, oh yeah, no, we torture people now. We put diapers on them, we don't let them sleep, we do the stress positions, we throw them against the wall, we slap them, we assault them, we do the waterboarding, etc. Yeah, we do. Now we do. America is a torturing country. That's what he's saying. That's what he's bragging about on national television. Do you know that we have hung people for waterboarding in the past? When we captured the Japanese, they had waterboarded some of our soldiers. We hung them. Some of them were sent into labor camps, but some of them were actually executed for the crime of waterboarding. And here's this guy coming to, oh, of course, yeah, we waterboarded them, and we're going to continue to do it if we get another chance. Okay, now, again, talking about the evidence, watch.
But the truth is about Khalid, Sheikh Mohammed, you really didn't break him.
Why? Why you say
Well,
that?
he didn't tell you about Osama bin Laden. He didn't tell you how to get him. He didn't tell you how to find him.
Some of these people were not going to tell us everything.
So you don't break them. And they
There
told you
is a
lies.
limit. There is a limit to what they will tell us. That was the one secret he was going to take to the grave, and that was the protection of the Sheikh. He was not going to tell us.
First of all, that was not the one thing he didn't tell you. He didn't tell you anything. The entire time you waterboarded him, you didn't get any useful information from him. And then second of all, look at this guy. Well, you know, we did it 183 times. Turns out there's a limit, and he still wouldn't tell us. Yeah, by the way, the guy we were trying to figure out is, yes, Osama bin Laden, right? Where is he? You didn't do it. You failed. You failed. You're a miserable failure torturer. That's who you are, okay? And, well, I guess he got a limit. He couldn't break him on that one, huh? So we tried it one more time. All right, now, you know that he destroyed the tapes? On the Abu Zubaydah, he destroyed 92 tapes. That's destruction of evidence. So why'd you do that? Let's listen.
Yeah, we weren't hiding anything.
But you then ordered these tapes destroyed.
Correct. 92 tapes.
92 tapes. Why did you order that they be destroyed?
To protect the people who worked for me and who were at those black sites and whose faces were shown on the tape.
Protect them from what?
Protect them from Al-Qaeda ever getting their hands on these tapes and using them to go after them and their families.
Oh, really? Because that's not the reason you gave in internal CIA emails. Here's what Jose Rodriguez wrote in the internal emails, that he was certain that the heat from destroying the tapes would be nothing compared to what it would be if the tapes ever got into the public domain. So, no, it didn't have anything to do with protecting the guys. It had to do with protecting your own ass. The heat that you would take in the public domain, oof. But if that wasn't clear enough, here's the second email. They would make us look terrible. It would be devastating to us. Now, wait a minute. I thought you said that you were proud of all this. So why'd you have to destroy tapes that made you look terrible? All right, he says there was nothing to cover up. Watch.
There are people who feel that you did it as a cover-up.
Everything that was on those tapes were authorized activities by the U.S. government. So there was nothing to cover up.
There was nothing to cover up except when you were writing internal emails talking about how devastating it would be to you if people find out what was on those tapes. You see what kind of a liar this guy is? So when you're trying to judge who's right, the FBI or the CIA, and what kind of interrogation techniques they use, first of all, you can listen to the own Inspector General of the CIA, who concluded that it didn't work at all. And you could see it, the guy lies over and over again. But now we get to some of my favorite parts. All right, let's watch again him talking about Khalid Sheikh Mohammed.
But I can tell you that this is an individual who probably didn't give a rat's ass about having water poured on his face.
He never believed for 1 second you were going to kill him.
No. And let me just tell you, Khalid Sheikh Mohammed would use his fingers to count the number of seconds because he knew that in all likelihood we would stop at 10. So this doesn't sound like a person who is afraid of dying.
All right. Well, the reason I show you that and the reason I've keep calling him stupid is because listen to what he just said. Now, this is a person who doesn't give a rat's ass about having water poured on his face. So then why did you do it 183 times? If you thought that it didn't matter at all and he's counting the seconds and he's fine and that wasn't going to break him, it didn't break him at 179 or 80, 181, it didn't break him, and you think he doesn't give a rat's ass about it. So why did you keep doing it? There is no rational answer for that, except he got off on it, which is what all torturers do, because it never leads to correct information. In fact, he admits that Khalid Sheikh Mohammed told him about some courier, sent him on a wild goose chase. Turns out it wasn't the case at all. He's like, oops. Now let's try it again. Sicko. All right, keep it going now. Here's another lie that he says. Watch.
We don't know. We don't know if, for example, Al-Qaeda would have been able to continue on with their anthrax program or a nuclear program or the second wave of attacks or the sleeper agents that they had inside the United States that were working with Khalid Sheikh Mohammed to take down the Brooklyn Bridge, for example. So it's easy years later to say, well, you know, no ticking time bomb, nothing was stopped.
because Lesley Stahl had asked him, hey, you didn't stop any attacks. So how do you expect us to believe that any of the information you say you got led to any evidence? He's like, well, you know, just no ticking time bomb, I guess. And by the way, they waited for months to get authorization. So what kind of a ticking time bomb do you have if you can wait months for authorization so you can cover your own ass while you're pretending to be a hero? And then what programs is he talking about? First of all, anthrax, we concluded rightly or wrongly, was done by a professor here in the United States of America having nothing to do with Al-Qaeda. Second of all, the sleeper cells, what like the dirty bomber Jose Padilla, who we found out later wasn't a dirty bomber at all. In fact, wasn't attempting to hit us at all. Had something to do with totally different countries, Central Asian countries. Okay, all right, but you know what? You might say, hey, look, there was the guys in Brooklyn, et cetera, et cetera. But nuclear program, that's where I said, oh my God, this guy is so painfully ignorant. He's still talking about something that was discredited, what, 8 years ago, 9 years ago? Who still thinks that Al-Qaeda had a nuclear program? What nuclear program are you talking about? And this is the guy we had in charge of counterterrorism? He doesn't know anything, or he knows it and thinks, let me just scare the American people. Boo, there was a nuclear program. I don't know. You're the CIA. You're gonna make up something like that on national TV after it's already been discredited for nearly a decade? That's embarrassing. Now, we go to how he arrived at the conclusion that his illegal destroying of the tapes was in fact legal. This is precious, watch.
So one day you just said, the hell with it, I have this authority, I'm gonna do it.
One day I finally called in my advisors and lawyers and say, tell me, okay, tell me again that this is legal, and tell me that I have the authority to do this. When the answer I received was yes and yes, then I said, well, I am going to make this decision and do it myself.
Boom, they were destroyed.
Yes.
I just love the way he recounted that. I pulled in my lawyers, and as their boss, I told them, tell me that I have the authority to do it. And they said yes. So I did it. Oh, that's how accountability works. Well, I'm glad you had your lawyers check in on it. Tell me I can do it. Absurd. By the way, he can go and talk about classified evidence all day long. He could write a book about it. As long as you're justifying torture, it's perfectly fine. Kevin Gostola at Fire Dog Lake makes a great point. He says, how about at least 6 different people who are trying to publish books that the CIA will not allow? Because they say, oh, no, that's classified intelligence because you're talking about torture in a way that we do not like, right? How about, and this is a great example, former CIA agent John Kirkow, who is now facing prosecution for talking about his role in waterboarding. The same exact thing Jose Rodriguez is doing. Oh no, but he was against waterboarding. Well, if you're against waterboarding, then we can look backwards and not forwards and prosecute you. But if you are for waterboarding, well, no, we can't look backwards. You go ahead and write a book and release all the classified information you like. We'll back you up, everything will be fine, and we'll prosecute everyone who disagrees with you. So don't believe the Obama administration when they say, hey, you know what? We're not prosecuting anybody for that. They are, if you are against waterboarding, okay? Now, despite all that, you think that this guy is in favor of President Obama, the guy who allowed them to do all this without prosecuting any of their crimes? I mean, this guy is admitting on national TV that he has broken war crimes that is considered by the whole world and the United States of America to be war crimes. And by the way, as I told you before, things that we have hung people for. That's how serious these war crimes are. No. He says, thank you, Obama, for letting me get away with it. He never actually says that. Implicitly, he's saying that. But then he says, oh, you know what? Obama broke a code. I can't believe he would even call it torture. We're the tip of the spear, and he should be protecting us all the way. But he did. And then the final insult to injury is this.
President Obama has said that what we did was torture.
Well, President Obama is entitled to his opinion.
That's perfect. That's like your opinion, man, as they would say in The Big Lebowski. And that's what he's telling the president. Hey, you know what? Since you didn't prosecute me, it's your opinion that I broke the law or that I'm a war criminal or I'm doing something wrong. And by the way, the minute you're out of office, we're going to go right back to torture because that's your opinion, man. And our opinion is that it rocks, and we can't wait to get our big boy pants back on. Thanks, President Obama. I really appreciate that. Thank you for holding these guys accountable. You can see how full of remorse they are.